back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite high protein cozy soups and stews. I have so many incredible soups and stews on my website, but today I'm just focusing in on the ones that are higher in protein because I know so many of us are trying to hit a higher protein target every day. These will help you do that. Today I'm going to make a roasted red pepper soup. It starts with a mirepoix base, which is just onion, celery, and carrots, and then I'm also going to add in some fresh garlic. I love making this with fresh bell peppers from the farmer's market and roasting them at home, but I know so many of us are busy and we need to save time, so I'm going to be making it with a jar of roasted red peppers instead of roasting them myself. To make this soup higher in protein, I'm going to be adding red lentils and a little bit of extra broth just to compensate for that. I'm just going to start by finely chopping an onion. Then I'm going to chop a few ribs of celery and about 3 carrots. So once the lentils are tender, I'm going to transfer them to a blender with coconut milk and the roasted red bell peppers. I'm just using this simple coconut milk. It's full fat, it doesn't have any gums or fillers. You can also use light coconut milk. If you use the full fat, it can solidify if it gets too cold, so you may have to run it under some warm water and shake it until you hear it sound like liquid. So my favorite way to eat this kind of soup is with a grilled cheese. I love dipping the grilled cheese in the soup and taking a bite. So good. So I just calculated the nutritional facts for this soup and it comes out to 14 grams per serving, 14 grams of protein per serving. That's for a quarter of the soup. I use sprouted whole grain bread for my grilled cheese, so that has 10 grams of protein. So the meal is about 24 grams of protein for around 600 calories. I think coconut milk definitely adds some calories. So like I said before, you could use a light coconut milk. You could even use like an almond milk if you wanted to. The texture won't be quite as creamy, but it'll still be really good. So not too bad. I'm very excited for tonight's recipe. It's one of our favorites. It's a vegan white bean chili. It requires minimal ingredients. It's very easy to make. The recipe on my website calls for vegan cream cheese, but I am using vegan Greek yogurt to boost the protein a little more. And then I'm also adding a tablespoon of nutritional yeast. If you've never cooked with nutritional yeast, it's basically like a seasoning that has a cheesy umami flavor. We're only using 1 tablespoon, so it's going to be very subtle in this recipe. I'm going to be using pre-cooked beans to save time. I love this brand that comes in glass jars instead of the cans because I just feel like it's healthier. So yeah, let me show you guys how to make it. I leave out the jalapeno seeds because they're a little too spicy for me. If you like your chili spicy, you can definitely throw the seeds into the chili with them. If you're worried about it being too spicy with the jalapeno, you can just leave the jalapeno out and use green bell pepper by itself. Whenever I make chili, I have to make cornbread. I don't know why, it's like an association I can't break. My go-to cornbread recipe is a pumpkin cornbread muffin. It uses pumpkin puree, mostly for moisture to cut back on the amount of oil in the recipe, but the pumpkin flavor is very subtle. The recipe uses a blender because it calls for rolled oats, but you can also make this in a bowl using oat flour and just stir everything together by hand. I also find finely ground cornmeal very hard to come by, so I'm using medium grind, but the blender breaks it down so that you don't get that gritty texture. So you can make the recipe vegan by using flax eggs. Using eggs definitely gives it more of a fluffy texture. I usually prefer honey in my cornbread, but all we have is maple syrup right now. Soup I'm going to make is a ridiculously simple black bean soup. Like, it's so simple that I hesitate to call it a recipe, but it's good for those nights when you need something super quick and easy. It's better than canned soup because you can control the amount of sodium in the recipe and there's no additives. You can also adjust the spices to your liking and the consistency to your liking as well. So you only need 5 ingredients to make this soup: black beans, a jar of salsa, a few seasonings, and vegetable broth. Obviously you can use whatever kind of broth you want, but we're keeping things plant-based, so I'm going to use this better than bouillon. I'm also going to add a few more spices and some nutritional yeast for a little bit more protein. It comes together super quick, so let me show you how to make it. So once the salsa starts to thicken and you can smell the fragrant spices, you're gonna add in a can of black beans. I just drain these, I don't rinse them because they don't have added salt, but if yours have added salt, you may wanna rinse yours. So then I'm gonna take the other can of black beans and add it to a blender. I'm gonna add a tablespoon of nutritional yeast and a teaspoon of the Better Than Bouillon and 1 cup of water. So I'm just gonna let this simmer until it thickens a bit more, and then it will be ready to serve. The next soup I'm going to be making is a creamy mushroom wild rice soup. This soup gets its creamy texture from cashew cream, which is made by soaking cashews in hot water for just 30 minutes. While the cashews are soaking, cook the wild rice in boiling water for about 45 minutes to an hour. Today's soup is going to be a comforting classic. It is a plant-based version of a chicken noodle soup. This recipe actually comes from a cookbook called Eat Like You Give a Damn. They sent me the cookbook to review on my site almost 10 years ago and allowed me to republish this recipe, and it quickly became one of my favorites. It comes together easy, very comforting, and perfect for a cozy fall evening. These are the ingredients that we'll need. I'm going to be using a super firm tofu. I'm going to use 2 onions because they're on the smaller side, celery, carrot, garlic, tamari, and nutritional yeast will flavor the tofu, and then a few herbs, oregano and thyme, and a vegan chicken broth. And then lemon juice brings the whole thing together. It is a must. So because this tofu is super firm, you don't need to press it. You can just use a few paper towels or a towel to dry it off, just like that. Recipe from the cookbook actually fries the tofu in a skillet, but I prefer to bake it to save some of the oil in the recipe. So I had to put the tofu on 2 trays to get it to fit because my air fryer is so small. Top it with 2 tablespoons of tamari and 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast. So now we're just going to set the tofu aside and let it marinate while we prep the soup. While that's cooking, we're going to start cooking our pasta in a separate pot. I have tried cooking the pasta in the same pot as the soup, kind of allowing the broth to cook it and just adding extra, but I don't recommend doing that because the soup tends to be much thicker than a traditional noodle soup. So it's best to cook it separately, especially if you're using gluten-free pasta, and then rinse off the excess starches and add it to the soup after. Outside, so the puppies are very nervous right now, but the weather will make it an extra cozy night for some tofu noodle soup. It'll be okay. That wraps up a full week of cozy soups and stews. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. As always, I am so grateful to have all of you here and supporting my channel. If you liked the video and you want to see more like this, please give it a thumbs up. I hope you all get to savor this fall season and enjoy the small moments, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.